Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Office Hours. My name is Ben Brownlee for Boris FX and I almost forgot to unmute my microphone there, so that would have been fun. So this is Office Hours. If you are new to this, here's what we do. We take a little look at a shot or a concept for the Boris FX software, and then we sort of just talk around it for about an hour. We answer questions that anyone have, or sometimes we even get to look at people's shots. So this week we are going to be taking a look at Silhouette, and I'm going to be diving into a shot that I haven't seen before. So let's just pop in. I'd say I haven't seen this shot before. Obviously I've seen it, I just haven't worked on it. So this is the shot that we're going to be working on today, and I'm basically going to see how much I can get done in the next hour. So there's going to be just freeform loosey goosey rotoscoping. So we've got some quite a sort of nice mix of people in the chat already. So if you let me know, if you haven't already done so, let me know where you're from. So it's nice to see some people from the US, from Nepal as well. And just also let me know if you're working in Silhouette or if you're using another rotoscoping tool to work with. So let's take a little look. So so this is the shot that I've got. Basically, I've got I'm looking at the wrong screen. There we go. So I've got my roto node in there, and that's basically it. So let's with that in mind, let's turn the face cam back on, because we know we're not going to be hiding anything important up in the top right hand corner. And let's come on and just look at this shot and analyze what it is we need to do with it. So this is basically the first few minutes I ever spend looking at a new shot is spent just replaying it back and forth, really just to see what the challenges are going to be and what shortcuts I can start to use. Because there's one thing, if you're going to be heading into a shot for a few hours, you don't want to sort of be spending more time than absolutely necessary. If there's there's going to be enough troublesome roads along the way, so you might as well get yourself a map to begin with. So we're going to be rotoing the actor here, and basically we've got a couple of things that are going against us. We've got the fact that we've got the door going over the top and obscuring the first 20 or so frames. So that's going to be a bit tricky. We've got a bit of motion blur. That's going to be all right. We've got a moving actor, and we've also got a moving camera. So take a look at the camera movement one more time. This definitely looks like a handheld shot. So there's sort of elements of trickiness going on in there. The motion we get from the camera is a little bit unstable, unpredictable, and combining that with the motion of the human here, to the actor here as well, that can cause us a few bits of trickiness. All right, so I think the first thing I want to do here, and the first thing that I always sort of want to do here, is see what I can track, because there's nothing tougher than trying to do kind of high quality roto with a moving camera and a moving actor when you've got to do all of the work yourself. So the more I can track this, the more I can sort of stabilize out the either the actor or the background, the camera, the better it is going to be for me, and the easier it's going to be for me to actually get this shot done in time. The actor, I think we can definitely track a fair amount of this, especially in the second half of the shot. So from about 30 frames onwards, so the last 75 frames of the shot, I think we can get a decent track on him. And I think the background, we're going to have to struggle. We're going to struggle a little bit with that, but there are definitely some things we can do to stabilize the background. All right. So this is it. Before I even do any rotoing at all, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do a bit of tracking. Let's open up this a little wee bit more if I can. There we go. And I'm going to go to my object list. I'm going to start up a layer and I'm going to call this one background track. Cool. Yeah, any questions you've got as well, drop them into the chat as we go along, and I will get to them as we see. Now, there's no way that I'm going to be able to get a solid background track across the whole area here. We've got loads of things passing the screen. I mean, I'm looking at this area here, which I'm assuming is P4 upside down. So this looks like a nice good bit to start out our tracking with. But you know, halfway through, it's going to be covered by the head, and then it's also going to be covered by the door as well. But you know, we're pretty solid up till then. So how about, instead of just trying to track in one shape, we try and track in a couple of shapes, and then in that way we give ourselves a little bit of a safety valve. Now I'm going to be using the Mocha tracker, I think, for this, so I can try and find something that's coplanar. Now if I take this area over here, it's not exactly coplanar, like it's a little bit closer to the camera than the background here, but because we're going to be using this just to stabilize things out, I think it's going to be good enough. Alright, so we've got two shapes. Let's come into our tracker. We're in our Mocha tracker already, and then we decide what type of motion we've got. Like I said, we're not going to be able to get 100% perspective tracking on this, I don't think, because we don't have like a nice big, or a big enough, flat enough area all the way through that's gonna help us out. So I'm just going to track into rotation. This is something I do quite a lot, and because we're using the Mocha tracker, it's going to track onto the whole layer. So it's going to take in both of these shapes. So let's just track us forwards, because that should be the most straightforward bit. Up at the top of the viewer, I've got my stabilize already turned on from the last project that I had. This is a good way of actually seeing this here, to see whether it's working or not, because if this is stable, this turned on and stable, if I play that back, we should be looking at something that's relatively stable there. You can see when it's stuff we haven't tracked, then it's not stable right up until the bit where it's tracked in again. So that's cool. Okay, here's the more difficult bit. Let's track backwards. I'm expecting this to fail at some point. And it's going to fail around about there. There we go. So you see where the head passes over. It's going to fail and start looking a bit bad. All right, so what do we do here? Well, let's come into our timeline. What I want to do is I want to move these shapes around. This is a trick that we can do with Mocha, because we can, so long as we're moving those shapes to coplanar areas, we can be moving these shapes around and still get decent tracking data. So we just need to do a couple of things. Which is my shape over here? I'm going to rename my shapes, because I'm going to call this one track left because it's on the left hand side of the screen, and I'm going to call this one track right because it's on the right hand side of the screen. I will also give this a different color just so I can see it a little bit better. Yeah, so basically I'm going to take this one frame back where we've still got a good bit of tracking data. I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a keyframe here onto that shape. Going to move us forward. Again, we still should be on a good piece of data, tracking data here. And I'm going to use my transform over here, so T. And I'm going to move this somewhere where I've still got some good detail, which is probably going to be around about here, at least for the time being. And then I can just go back into my tracker and I'm going to track backwards again. I don't really mind too much what's happening over here. This one should be okay for a little bit longer. Let's have a little look. Yeah, that's all right. Okay, you see that? It was fine right up until it wasn't. And then when it isn't, we go back. So that's the bad tracking data. One more frame, that's good. One frame more. Come into the timeline, add a key. So a fair amount of this is actually going to be not about doing the roto work, it's about getting the prep work done. Because this is going to set us up and save us so much time. All right, so now this is moved in here. I'll leave this one over here. And let's track this one backwards a bit more. Yeah, it's looking fine until it doesn't look fine. And I think we can, and it's not looking fine because he's bringing the door over now. It's going to be annoying. All right, it's going to be very annoying. So, okay, good track data. One more frame back into here. You start to build up a nice little rhythm. Add one in here. Come back to the last good frame. I'll move us back. I think we can move back to our upside down P4 now. Track this back. Boom, boom, boom. Whoop. Okay, good track data. Good track data. One more frame. Do the same thing again. I don't know where to put this anymore. I think, yeah, we'll probably be all right up here. We need to be sort of thinking about going more that way. Because that door, that's just going to keep going. It's just going to keep going. So I'm just going to keep doing just a few frames at a time now. Because this is, yeah, this is going to start getting annoying soon. Add a key. T to go into transform. Let's just stick it over there and see what we can get done. Boom, boom, boom. I think this is going to be all right for the rest of the. Not quite at the end, but that's all right. I don't care. It's fine. I don't really care. We're not going to be using that. I suppose I could do something better, but let's move forward. Okay, so we play this through now. Got the stabilize back on, and this is pretty stable, all things considered. And we've got our shape jumping around all over the place to find where things are. But because of the way we've done the tracking, we've got a background that's actually pretty good. Okay, I like this. So that's our background track. Happy with this. The next thing to do is to actually do some roto work with it. Okay. Let's turn off stabilize for just a second. What I can do with this, now we've got the, all of the animation data, the tracking data on this track, I'm actually just going to duplicate this. So I can just Control C, Control V, or we could even just do Control D, I believe. So to copy and paste. And I'm going to call this one now shirt. Just call this one shirt. I was going to call it shirt man, but there's only one guy in there, so that's fine. And let's turn off visibility on the background track. Let's lock it so we don't accidentally change it. And let's get rid of all these shapes that are already in there. Okay. So I don't even have to do this, but I'm going to do it this way. So with the shirt now, I can come in and I can start making my first shape. And I want to make these shapes as simple as possible. Like, I don't really want to add in too many details into into these initial shapes, because the more keyframes, the more control points I put in here, the more worries we've got when things start moving out. So I think this is going to be just fine. There we go. And yeah, I could probably just bring this out just a wee bit there as well. But I don't want to care too much about, let's zoom in a little bit. And we don't actually have anything here. But towards the start of, oh no, there we go. Let's bring this down. Like we've got a little ruffle here, yeah? Got a little ruffle in the shirt, and there's going to be more of those little creases where the fabric starts to bunch up. I don't want to spend too much time coming in and adding loads and loads of shapes just for that just yet, because that area, that little ruffle, that's going to move in and out. Okay. And so if I'm having to move a single point up and down there as part of this bigger shape, it's going to actually end up making more and more keyframes for me and more work for me eventually in the timeline that I don't really have to do. So zoom out a little bit here. But because we've got that track on, take a little look at that. Most of the work is being stabilized out. So all we have to do now is focus on the movement of the actor here. So here's another thing for getting us nice and smooth results. Rely on the track and make as few keyframes as possible. So we're looking here for the apex of the changes that we've got going on. So as a body, he's going to sort of pop into place. It's not going to be like a sort of straight pop, but there's going to be an area where everything just slows down and sort of moves into another position. And that's where we want to add in our first keyframe. And we want to make big moves into small moves. That's always the other way of doing it. So I'm going to use the transform tool. I can just bring this over and just move that into place. I can even use the arrow keys here. But we want to do like the biggest moves first. And you can see there's a few little changes that have happened here. Just very, very subtle changes that have gone on along that edge that we can't sort of get done, or we can't finish with that big movement here. Oh, hello Sayu from India. Good evening to you. So now we've got that sort of big movement in, we can start working a bit smaller. And we could go, as small as the reshape tool and start working on control points. We're not there yet. We're going to go into my favorite tool, which is the brush tool. Hello, Søren from Denmark, just around the corner from me. And with the brush tool here, the brush reshape tool, I can control this like I can do like a regular paintbrush. So control or command to make it bigger and smaller, drag us all in. And what this is going to do, let's just zoom in a little bit here, is it's going to help me push those areas into place. Okay, I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to zoom out again. And you can see I'm only affecting really the area where I've got the brush reshape tool, and the area, the points that are closest to the ones that I start with, move the most. So I can start to come in and make these finer movements here. So we take this back. We've actually got most of that work now done for us just with those two keyframes. And I can concentrate here on not adding too many keyframes more. I'm just looking for where that slips out the most. It's probably around about there. And just push that back in there. And same over here. Just push that over there. So work big to small. And there, it's very small little area, so I can just make that brush even smaller and then just push my points back in. Maybe not quite as much there. And I'll continue that down the whole timeline. So find where the point of maximum drift has gone. Work big to small. So transform tool here. Let's take a little look over on the left hand side. Everything's still in place, but because we've got the subject moving like that, sort of basically showing us more more pixels, showing us more of that shoulder, screen right shoulder, we can then come in and we can push this over a little bit. So instead of just stretching it out like that, just with a regular scale, what I can do is I can hold down my Alt key and that will push that in just over from one side. So sort of just distort that back in. So again, we're using the transform tool to make the big movements. Coming in, do we need to make any smaller movements here? Yeah, because it's organic movement, so he's not sort of coming in here. And we've got yeah, hello from Cutter as well. Hello, KSPMN, and then we just sort of bring that into place. So we've got a nice solid movement going in there. Now I'm going to come away from the shirt for a second because I want to just do a little bit more with the head here, I think, and then we'll come back to the shirt in a sec, because we've already time just flies too quickly here. All right, I'm going to turn off my, no, that's the wrong one, there we go. I'm going to turn this off for a second because I'm going to add another node in here, because I want to show you something we can do with Mocha Pro that actually comes included with Silhouette now. So if I come into my main Silhouette category, I can add in Mocha Pro over here and just bring that over the top, and it will have a little think. Watching rotoscope videos is so relaxing. Yes, it is. In fact, doing rotoscope videos is really relaxing as well. It really is. It's genuinely one of my favorite things to do. All right, so let's launch Mocha Pro, because I want to show you a couple of things in here. This is going to be big, so let's bring this back into size. I thought I could just resize it normally. There we go. Beautiful. That should fit in quite nicely. All right, and let's play this back. So it's the same clip, obviously. I can bring my face back in there. Lovely. So we're going to have a look at, oh, speaking of faces, we're going to have a look at the head here, I think, and how we can start to do a bit of roto on the head. All right. So yeah, in Mocha, we've got a couple of things available to us that are going to help out, sort of make this you know, a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to use just a regular fat old ellipse tool over the top here, and I'm going to do some mesh tracking. Just doing like the automatic mesh there isn't quite what we're after, so I'm going to generate up like a uniform mesh over the top. There we go. And we're not going to use this mesh for anything too clever, except to create up some nice rotosplines where we don't have to do anything. So I make the original shape just a little bit bigger than I want it, so that the mesh generates up in a large size. And then I'm going to come in here, I'm going to turn my mesh off so we don't see it anymore. And let's just zoom in. And now I can come in and actually maybe sort of take this shape in a little bit closer to where I need it to be. Bring that in there. We'll deal with hair a little bit later. Where we've got ears, I'm going to deal with ears now. So let's come up, add in some new points. Little point there for the ear, little point there for the ear. Bring that in there, lovely. Do I need another point? Maybe. Yeah, let's do that. Boom. Bring that in there. around the face. Okay, so that's going to be, you know, good enough for jazz. So I'm going to come in and we're going to track this through now. And the only thing we need to look at is to make sure that the warp spline has been turned on. Because if the warp spline hasn't been turned on, we're just going to be getting like a regular planar track. So it's just going to be like a flat surface track. With warp spline turned on, so what's going to happen is as it moves forward, like the spline itself isn't going to update along with the mesh. It's going to just update along with the regular planar track. When we've got warp spline turned on, it's going to update along with the mesh. So that's not going to, you know, make too much of a difference at the start of this. But as that face turns around, things are going to start to warp into place a little bit, or to move. So we're going to have to do a lot less work. You can see even here, like with the ears, the ear has started to pop in quite nicely at that point. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect yet, but it is a lot better. You can see there, look, again with the ear, and I'm going to hit escape there before everything goes horribly wrong with that door. So this has done like a ton of work for me. Let's make sure that that's in the right place. I can come in and I can make any sort of small adjustments that I need to here. So possibly things like with the it's called motion blur, popping in there. It's looking all right. Ears maybe a little bit there. So again, we're working small to big, but most of the big work has been done for us by the tracking. I'll turn stabilize on the viewer there, makes things a bit easier. So this is really nice. This is like it almost feels like cheating. Just to zoom out a little bit here. Take a look at that. Okay, so that's, again, we've just got a tiny amount of slip just on that little ear. But apart from that, we're looking pretty good. Just need to look and watch for this left-hand side, because this left-hand side is going to get obliterated by the, by the motion blur again. Just bring that in just a little bit. Everything over on the right-hand side is looking good. That's looking good for me there as well. Let's just do that final little thing on the old earlobe. And it's pretty good. All right. Cool. So let's take this out to Silhouette. Exit out of this. Do I have to do anything special? Actually, no, I don't. This is another nice thing. I think got introduced in Silhouette 2022, but it's a little thing. Now we're back in Silhouette. We can just go and click down here in the Mocha Pro node, and it's actually, that's annoying, it's just outside of the video frame. It brings over here. There you go. Now you can see it. So we can basically create a roto node out of the Mocha shape data, or just create a tracker node. Let's create another roto node here. It's going to have a little think. Let's bring this back into place. Let's turn my face off for a second. So it's giving me another little roto node that's come straight from the Mocha Pro data. And this is my face. Face main, and this is my head. So that's head main, and the other one's my face. There we go. So what I can do is I can just copy and paste this between the roto nodes there, and have a little look here. I'm going to just turn my face into a different color. Well, it's not my literal face. There's my literal face. My face track, my face face shape. And take a look down at the timeline. So down the timeline here, it's given us all of the tracking data we need, plus it's done all of the keyframing that it needs to do to actually get that shape looking nice. That head shape, look at that. That's really kind of nice. Let's turn off the outlines with 0. Just play that back. That's not bad. It's kind of fun. I actually like that. I think that's done well. So we're starting to rough out our big, our big shapes now. So we can start to focus on the smaller areas in a little bit. What I might do, what time is it? We still got a while. This is great. What I might do now then is just take a little look at some of the smaller elements. I might have to, yeah, definitely do. I want to come in and focus on some of these little creases here. This is something that catches people out quite a lot, which is what happens when clothes and stuff start deforming a little bit. If you're actually new to this stream, if you've just joined us, you're watching Office Hours with me, Ben Brownlee, for Boris FX. We are in Silhouette doing a bit of Roto for the next hour. So you got any Roto questions, let me know. If you're enjoying the stream, you like the little relaxation of watching someone rotoscope, hit a little thumbs up button if you can. It's always good. Yeah, Roto is I always enjoy this, just sort of the problem solving bit of it. I enjoy this bit. All right, I'm gonna get like a really rough shape done for the shirt now, because I don't want to spend too much time on this section, because we've already seen like the rough section here, and we know what happens with this. So I need to get us into a nice position that it makes sense for us to look at the ruffles. So I won't spend too much time on this, and it won't be perfect. I will go back and make it perfect at some point. There we go. Yeah, let's come in. Actually, this is probably a good place to still be thinking, big to small. So again, just bringing out that roto, the magnetic reshape. Just bringing that inwards there. But notice what I'm not doing. I'm not focused on this little bulge that's happening in the shirt. I'll come over to the other side and I will dampen that one down just a little bit. Here we go. Does it mean we're going to ignore this bit of the shirt? No. Not at all. But actually I'm going to ignore that bit that's horrible for now, because we need to just make our way to the front of the clip. Ben, come on. Stop getting distracted. There we go. Using the transform tool with the Alt or Option key to do the big moves. Coming in. Magnetic reshape. Getting the other stuff sorted out. There we go. This is I'm trying to remember when this came in. I think this came in the 2020 version, I think. But yeah, absolutely, changed the game for me in terms of like organic roto, just being able to sort this out. I think we might even have looked at it again when I was looking at hair roto and just how useful it was for that as well. So big to small, big to small. And bring that in around about there. Here's the where it starts getting a bit interesting, because we're doing a lot of guesswork at this point, because stuff's going behind the door. So this is an advantage and disadvantage for us, to be fair. Like, the disadvantage is we can't see where these things are meant to be lining up. The advantage is that as long as we get it in the right sort of general area, it's going to be fine, because all of this is going to get cut out really soon. So, I'm not going to sweat about that. All right. Are we there yet? Almost. Okay, here we go. We've got a question from Cern who says, little off topic, when using the brush in Mocha and want to deselect with the option key, the minus turns up but nothing happens. Any suggestions? Yeah, we'll see if I can get to that, actually. Because that's a interesting one that shouldn't be an issue. All right. Are we roughly in place? We're roughly in place. Yeah. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to focus in, zoom in a little bit here. We're going to focus in on these bad boys here. Now, this is something that I see people trying to tackle, or not trying to tackle, they do tackle it. They tackle it by making big, overly complicated shapes here. So tons and tons of control points on these areas to try and get rid of these little bits in the clothes. That is one way to do it. It's not my preferred way of doing it, for one big reason. Actually, two big reasons. One, it takes longer to do it because you're having to juggle more control points, and you're adding in more keyframes onto the timeline. More keyframes, more complexity. Yeah, no good. The other reason I don't like it so much is that as a consequence of having so many more keyframes, what can happen is that those little shapes can start to bubble a bit and wobble around. And as soon as we start getting things wobbling, that's the thing that gives the game away, and it makes for a bad composite. We might get away with it when we're just playing stuff back in Silhouette, but actually when we bring those shapes and those mats and we start to use them in a final project, a lot of the time there's no there's no sort of leeway with that. There's no kind of middle ground. It either looks right or it looks bad. So let's do something else. Okay, over in my object list, this is going to be shirt main. Okay, so we're going to start making new shapes now. And this seems like it's going to take more time for us to do, but actually this is the biggest time saver that we can actually start to do. Because I'm going to start to make a little one here that's just going to call, I'm going to call this one bulge 1. And because it's inside the shirt, we're going to get that same tracking movement as we had previously. And look what I can do here. We've got 2 frames, and then that bulge is gone. So it becomes part of the main shirt. Yeah. Let's make sure that it's going to the right place. It's going about there. Back and forth, back and forth. Let's bring that over the side here. Bring that over there. See, I don't even have to do anything too clever with it. You know, it's all work. I was going to say it's all working big to small, and everything's big. So it's just there for a few frames, yeah, until it again becomes part of the main shirt. Let's bring that in there. Like I say, I'm probably going to have to think about what's called motion blur again in a little second, but that's fine. Okay, we got stepping happening here. I think I've made this a what's called the wrong frame rate, so we're getting repeating frames. But let's not worry too much about that, Ben. Let's worry about this. So you can see here now we've got that little bulge that only goes in, or is only around where it actually needs to be. So let's turn this on and off. So here's a nice little thing, bulge 1. If I click on this button over here in the object list, it's going to turn it off, opacity at 0, and it's going to set a keyframe for me. So I turn it back on my last good frame, turn it off on the frame where I don't need it anymore. Same over here. Boom. It goes off there. So let's take a little look in the timeline. So we've got, let's turn the overlays on. These are nice hold keyframes, so they're just gonna, it's just gonna go off there. Now, because we've got motion blur to think about, we do want that to be you know, calculated correctly over the next few frames. I will just animate this inside as well, and I can just take it off screen. That's another thing that you know is very common as well. Is once it's gone, take it off screen. The other thing we've got, of course, and this is a preference. We come in here. I think I showed this last time as well, but I think this is so good that we should definitely be looking at it. Fade outline with opacity under shape. Yeah. So with this turned on here, if I don't have the shape selected, as soon as it goes to 0% opacity, it disappears off the stage. Sorry, disappears out of the view. If I do have it selected, it's always going to be visible no matter where it is. But that's a nice little thing there. Enjoy that. So if I do that there for like this one up here as well, bring that in there, bulge 2. Should lock these up, give them different colors, lock up the ones we've done so we don't accidentally change anything. Let's come back in, boom boom boom. Like this one here, we hardly have to touch it. It's just, there it is, and there is out again. So that's all. It's definitely gonna go out in a couple of frames. So let's just move it over there. I believe it's that one. Yeah. So we check. Always a good idea to check the movement. Make sure we're in the right place. Oh yeah. Now we've got to the bit where we haven't actually rotoscoped. But that's it. I mean, that's how I deal with those little bulges there. So instead of making lots and lots of like control points all over the place, just make a new shape that pops in and pops out. Much easier, much more controllable. And the nice thing is, you know, when they've served their function, we can just turn them off There we go. So they're not affecting anything in the timeline. Lovely bubbly. All right. A couple of other things to go through as well. We've still got a little bit of time left. Let's actually take a look at CERN's question, which was back in Mocha Pro. So let's launch Mocha Pro. Which was, and the question was, when using the brush in Mocha and want to deselect with the Option key, the minus turns up and nothing happens. All right. Let's have a look at that. Let's see if we've got something we can logically do with the brush tool. Maybe the hand. Let's have a look at the hand. Okay, yeah. So yeah, the brush tool is another way of in Mocha Pro of actually creating up shapes, creating up areas. And we change the size of the brush same way as we do in Silhouette. So hold down Control or Command key and just scrub. There we go. And then we can just, yeah, paint in. Might be a good idea to, oh, what's going on? Yeah, just basically paint in where we want the shape to be. La la la. La 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 la. That should be it. Lovely bubbly. And then if I overpaint a little bit, which I have done there, if I hold on the Alt key, it might be a little bit tricky to see, but you should see like a tiny little minus inside that paintbrush now. So when I paint with it now, instead of adding to the shape, it sort of subtracts from it. So let's do that one more time. Maybe I'll make my shape a little bit smaller and a bit easier to control. I'm using the a pen and tablet. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Now the thing that might trip you up a little bit is that, yeah, when if I turn off my quick mask here, boom, that's going to create up the shape for me. So what might be happening is you haven't gone in, like if we go to the other brush over here, we actually have to turn this brush into the paintbrush with a little plus sign. So once we've done that, once we've turned that into the paintbrush with the plus sign there, we can now make changes to our shape. So if I hold down the Alt key here, that turns this into a little minus, and that's going to cut out stuff from our shape. And if I just, with the plus over there still, I can just add into our shape a little bit here automatically. So with the quick mask on, it doesn't update any of the shape until we turn the quick mask off. But with that quick mask on, it's going to automatically, or not automatically, it's going to change that shape as soon as I click off of it. Does that make sense, or does that answer the question? It works because I closed the layer. Okay. Well, hopefully that answers the question anyway. Oh, that's the main shape. I was going, what's layer number 1? Oh yeah, that's the one we actually tracked in. I remember now. Okay. Should we do anything with this? Should we see if we can track it? Yeah, why not? I don't expect it to be able to do it. So actually, let's just forget about that. Cool. Yeah, because the other thing, maybe just like, let's look at one more thing here. And this is something that I don't know if we did talk about it. Hello new audience people. Hello from Ukraine. Hello to you. Hello from Denmark. Yeah, the other thing we've got to do, I want to sort of talk about as well, is how we visualize some of this stuff, especially stuff like motion blur. Like, so if we have a little look at the object list over here, we do have motion blur we can turn on our shapes. And we're not going to see anything for two reasons. First reason is we need to set our viewer to output, so then I can turn on my my little overlay here, Rubylith, the fill. And the other reason is we need to go into the node and have motion blur enabled in the node. And as soon as that happens, let's have a little, it's easier to see on the black and white. As soon as that happens, we can actually see the motion blur happening. So that's, you know, one way of looking at and seeing what the motion blur is looking like. And we know because we've got this fast camera movement and we've got the person moving as well, we're going to be fighting a bit of motion blur as we go through. Now, the other thing we need to think about a little bit here is how much sort of how things are going to start to slow down. It's fine. We've only got like four shapes at the moment with motion blur, but what if we had, you know, hundreds of shapes, or if we just wanted like a better way of visualizing what the motion blur is doing? And this is something that was always a little bit you know, kind of tricky for me. You know, a while back before we had this thing that I'm going to show you. And so, especially if we have a little look here, if I turn my motion blur, we can see that the blue is definitely going out. It's definitely going out there, and it's definitely showing us stuff here. But is it showing us the right thing? I mean, this one's looking all right, but how about with let's go over here where we're actually just working. You know, how about over here? How do we judge that, especially on sort of darker images? Well, one way of doing it, and this is something that we can kill two birds with one stone, is if we go into foreground mode, we get rid of that overlay. So it's not calculating the overlay anymore. So it's faster. It's not calculating the map. But the way we look at motion blur now is we turn on the roto overlays over here. And I'll take a little look down here. We can look at some different things. We can look at the motion path, motion blur, and onion skin. So if I select my bulges, we can see the motion path shown up in green. We see the motion blur showing up in the colors over here. We'll come back to that. And the onion skin is showing up in the shape colors as well. Let's turn off onion skin and motion path, because I don't want to see those anymore. And we'll take a look at motion blur. So have a look here. We can now see the outer edge of our motion blur in this kind of dotted area. It's probably easier to see if I turn to a reshape tool. And we can see our hard edge of the shape is there, and we can see the inner edge of the motion blur over here as well. So this is our shape and our motion blur and what's going on there. So if we want, we can come in and let's just take a look at bulge 2. We can make sure that our shape is exactly going to the edges of the motion blur, which is around about there, by taking a look at what this is doing over here. And this is really, really fast to do, because we're not having to calculate out the any of the mat, so we're not worried about what's going on here. We've got an absolute definite value. Let's turn off the locking here. Yeah, we've got a definite value of where the motion blur is going to. So we can see on this one, and just pull that back, and I know my motion blur is going exactly there. So I know that shape, that indeterminate shape, has to go exactly there. So we can get everything nice and pixel perfect. A couple of questions in the chat. Morning from Los Angeles. Hello, Jim. Is there a silhouette book? There's a silhouette manual. It's been a while since I've seen a rotoscoping book. I mean, it's probably going to be 15 years since I've seen a rotoscoping book, and I can't remember who wrote it. Then I don't think there's a book out there. Not for the current version of Silhouette. There is, there's training videos going on, and I want to get more sort of fundamental Silhouette training as well. There are a couple of FX PhD courses for Silhouette, which are very, very good. Those are hosted by Katie Morris, who's an incredibly talented roto artist. But as for books, no, there isn't. Hi, Chief. Hello. What version of Silhouette is this? This is 2022.5. So this is the new version that came out a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. But nothing that I've shown you here is newer than, actually, I think 2022. Yeah, because we had a look at some of the Mocha Pro stuff. That's new in 2022. And this Roto overlay stuff, this was in 2020. But it's like there's so many cool little bits there. And yeah, I think one of my favorite bits, have we got time for one last thing? We don't. I'm going to save that for next time. Yeah, one of my favorite bits though, which I will show you, or we'll talk about, is coming in and being able to stabilize the viewer based not off the active layer, but based off of like a master track, so that we can set up like a background track, or we can set up another track and then base like a ton of layers on that track as we're rotoing through. Yeah, we've run out of time. I don't know how we've done it. I don't know where that hour went. But we haven't finished the shot. I didn't think we'd finish the shot, but we haven't finished the shot. But we've actually done, we've done a little bit. We've done a lot of me talking, and we've had a little look at some of the sort of more fun and fundamental techniques that I'd use. I'm going to go away for another couple of hours and finish this shot. So I think that's going to be my, that's going to be my reward for this. But yeah, this is basically what Office Hours is. It's going to be, it's one of the Boris FX team. It's not always me. I know it's been me for the past 3 weeks. It's definitely not always going to be me. Taking a look at a bit of Boris FX software, taking a look at a topic that people have suggested, often through the comment section, and then just sort of working with that and talking about it for about an hour. So if you do have any topics that you'd like to see, then do get in contact. Leave a comment down here, and if you've got a shot that's being particularly tricky that you want us to take a look at in another Office Hours, then again, just get in contact with us. But it's the hour's gone. So thank you very much for spending a little hour with me rotoing and finding my little Zen space. I will see you all very soon, hopefully. But yeah, take a quick look over at the Boris FX website, and check out some of the other Silhouette tutorials that are there. If you've enjoyed this, please hit that little thumbs up button. It actually does mean a lot to decide what sort of content we're going to be making in the future. I'll just turn to my full camera there for my final goodbye, which is my name is Ben Brownlee for Boris FX. and I'll see you again in another office hours soon. All right, take care everyone. Bye for now.